AfCFTA. And I'd like to thank first our esteemed speakers for accepting our invitation and honoring us today. And something to do. When we opened the registration for this event, we assumed that most of us as Africans will have so I'm here again. So when we opened the registration for this event, we assumed that most of us as Africans will have at least the basic knowledge about the AfCFTA. But we were so shocked and surprised when we found only 10% of the applicants know about it. And to be honest, we consider it as challenge, and I'm going to
Dear all, seems to be that Ms. Hiba have an issue with the internet connection, so 2 minutes and we're going to check it and we're going to be back. Thank you all.
I'm really extremely sorry for this inconvenience because I have internet, issues. We were introducing our first speaker, Engineer John Johannes Magic from South Sudan. He is an executive director of John. As I mentioned in my introduction, not all of us know about the African Continental Free Trade Area. Would you please shed a light on the agreement and the role of the African Union of implementing it? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hiba, and thanks to Guardian of Afro-Arab Leadership for organizing this forum on the AfCFTA. It is a pleasure to be here with you today, and good evening to everyone who is residing in Africa, and greetings to the rest who are watching us in the other side of the globe. I think for your question, I prepared a small presentation that indicate the most elements of the AfCFTA. I know in the world of Zoom nowadays is a bit hard to keep the attention of people, but I try to make it very short. It's a five slides only, and I will try my best to be brief so that it could be also a start for all of us to have a clear understanding of what is all about the AfCFTA. Can you put out my slide, or maybe I can share my screen?
Feel free to share your screen. You're a co-host.
All right. Perfect. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. I will give a brief presentation on the AfCFTA. As we all know, and as you also put it as the theme of the program, it is a path towards an integrated Africa, where the African countries intertrade among each other. So what is the African Continental Free Trade Area? So from my understanding, I don't want just to define it as it is put in the document, but I try to distill some basic ideas that can open up more discussion on how we can go about it. The first element is that I pick from the overall documents and the agreement is the AfCFTA is meant to deepen market integration and regional integration among the African countries. And it also boosts inter-Africa trade. It's where countries can trade with other countries and traders also can trade cross borders. It promotes regional and continental value chain because as a producing country, the value chain can cross the other countries. You can ship some goods in other neighboring countries. The other element is it meant to foster economic transformation of the continent through industrialization. As we all know that Africa is still, we are on the path of industrialization. And this trade treaty, it helped us toward chartering that way of industrialization. The AfCFTA potential and aspiration, it has a potential of transforming the African economies and also to raise the Africa's share in global trade. It is where Africa trade as a one continent. And according to the World Bank report, it is indicating that it's a prediction that if the African Continental Free Trade Area, if it is implemented successfully, it will lift 100 million Africans out of poverty by 2035. The AfCFTA scope agreement, it covers trade in goods, trade in services, investment, intellectual property rights, and competition policy. But my interest is on how we can link the AfCFTA with women and young people in trade. Looking into the document, looking into the pact itself, it specifically mentioned the two groups, the women and youth. If you look into Article 3A, it says the AfCFTA has to promote and attain sustainable and inclusive socio-economic development, gender equality, structural transformation of the state parties, where it is specifically mentioned the role of women in the aspect. If you look into Article 27(2)(d) of the Protocol on Trading in Services, it states that state parties are mandated to improve the export capacity of both formal and informal services. We know that most business of the young people and women are in informal services suppliers, with particular attention to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, with a special focus on women and youth services. So these are the indication of we are part of this continental trade. So we need to look into ways of how young people can be part of it, and how women in trade also can be part of this initiative. So the agreement, it's included those aspects of our societies. So it is where nowadays we are coming as a young people, we are knocking the doors of the policymakers to include us into those decision making. And recently we had an initiative where we invite the Secretary General of the AfCFTA, His Excellency Wamkele Mani, and part of the domestication of the AfCFTA, because we know it is recently launched, but we don't know what is really inside that document. It might look nice and lucrative, full of aspiration, but we have to see where we fit as a young people. So we had this event on 1st February 2021. It is early this month, and the objective is to understand the AfCFTA from youth and women perspective, for us to take advantage of cross-border trading in goods and services. The other way is to explore modalities for engaging in a strategic partnership to facilitate youth and women access to AfCFTA markets, because it is a central market. So what are other avenues that we look at as young people in trade and young people in businesses? It's also meant for a creation of awareness to domesticate the AfCFTA, because we don't want it just to be a document within the premises of the African Union. We want to own it. We want to take it into the grassroots. So that initiative was meant for localization of the idea, so that the traders at the local grassroots can also adapt the elements that promote their businesses. It also spotlights the importance of the informal sector in the AfCFTA, because we know more women and youth are in the informal sector, and the AfCFTA give the informal sectors business owner to trade through formal ways, because for instance it increased the high tariff that allow the informal trader to at least facilitate some kind of payment, where the payment will be according to the type of business that you do, and mostly the type of businesses that we do across the continent as a young people, and the women in business as well. And part of the program is to discover channels for access to information and training opportunities in trade networks, and to integrate the voice of youth and women in the AfCFTA negotiation and policy making and decision. We know the African Union is a policy making institution, and it works with the member states. And in the step that they are in, they are establishing the national AfCFTA, where those institutions will be established in member states. They are the one that are responsible to transmit what the African Union is championing to the national level. It is where, as a business owner in that country, we have to approach such institutions. They are under the formation, but it is our starting point. It is where we can start engaging with those institutions to give us the guidance on how we can go about it. And mostly, if you visit the African Union website, there's also a documents and the training models on tariff liberalization. Because those big terms, for us, they might not be clear. We need to understand them in a way that they are very simple and we can understand on how we can work with those terms in the sense that our local businesses also are benefiting from the overall objective of the AfCFTA. So you can watch that event on the link that I put forth. And my last message is that young people need to come up and claim our shares, particularly in intra-trades. We cannot have the success of the AfCFTA if young people in business and women are excluded. We are the one who will knock the doors of the policymakers and provide them on the way of how they can engage us. And this is part of the engagement. I hope some policymakers also are in the room to open up the discussion on how young people can implement the AfCFTA. And for us to domesticate it, we need to understand it in the terms where it fits our businesses, it fits our local businesses. So this is a great initiative, and I thank the organizer. And I hope I make just a bit of what is all about the AfCFTA. It is big, but we focus on how we come in as a young people in business and young women who are doing business in that aspect. Thank you very much. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you, dear engineer Johannes. You did a great presentation and it was really, really insightful. And I think Leary agree with me, right? Right, Leary? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here now. Yeah, that was good. I'm really sorry I could not join you guys at the start of the program. I had issues with power, which I feel like if this whole FTA program is going to work, African countries have to work more in ensuring that we have access to electricity all the time, because we've been having so many cuts recently, and because of that, just I think 20 minutes before the start of the program, we had another power cut, so I could not join you guys. I'm really sorry for that, but I'm really grateful to Ms. Heba for taking the reins and making sure that everything is on track, and for everybody that has joined us so far. Can I continue now, Ms. Heba?
Yes, sure. The floor is yours.
All right, that's great. And I won't take much of your time. I think the introductions of Gulf of Africa, Arab leadership have already been talked about and everything. So without much ado, I would introduce the next speaker, Mr. Evans Idabo from Nigeria. I hope I said that correctly, sir. Is he with us? Mr. Evans?
Very much. That's good. That's good. That's good. Hello, everyone.
All right. So Mr. Evans is an AfCFTA Media Fellow and a certified AfCFTA Gender and Development Professional. He's also an alumni of the African Institute of Economic Development and Planning, subsidiary of the Nation Economic Commission for Africa. So we can see he's basically somebody that has wide knowledge and wide ranging experience in terms of dealing with economics on the continent and economic development in general. I hope to learn more from you, sir. Please go ahead. And my question for you is, we as young people attending this webinar, how do we see our role as young people to promote the Africa Continental Free Trade Area? And how can we engage young people in implementing it?
Thank you very much.
All right,
one of the areas and actually come in is the fact that it provides for free. So if I want to come down to Egypt now, it's going to be very AfCFTA period. So it allows for free movement of persons, right, within the Africa country. This is one area where you can take advantage. In fact, by next month, we're going to be starting a series, Thriving in the New Africa. So it's important we understand that this is a new Africa. Ever since January 1st, 2021, we now have a new Africa. And that is why I must appreciate the organizers of the program, okay, because it's going to open our eyes to a lot of opportunities. Now, having said that, another area is there are a lot of areas the youths can actually explore, right, to build a career out of the AfCFTA. For instance, there are a lot of vocational training that the youth can actually undergo in order to become a consultant or a professional in different areas of the AfCFTA. For instance, the youths now have the opportunity to become international trade facilitators. Away from that, more than that, the youth now also have opportunity export and import procedure consultant. Consultant in the area of export and import procedure is a whole lot of document. When you speak with your national implementation committee you have in your country, you will tell them that anybody that wants to export or that want to import, what are the procedure? Is a huge document, they will give it to you. Not all the businesses and SMEs and organizations that have all the time to go through processing these licenses, certificates, approvals, and paperwork that is required. So the African youth, young people can actually make a career out of that area, okay, in the area of becoming a consultant in export and import procedure. Now, that's exactly what I'm exploring as well. You necessarily would not need to become a trade specialist to do that. No, you can just specialize in that area. Away from that, a lot of advocacy. You can have a dedicated page, a blog, a social media page, and all of that, okay, for advocacy. A number of organizations have reached out to me. Right. I said, we have to start something. So we created African youth engagement, right? And ever since, reach out to us to partner with us, and we'll be speaking on also. She's one of the speakers here. That is advocacy. Then the area of capacity building, just like what the engineer noted, okay, a lot of organizations, businesses and SMEs, they're not even aware of the opportunity that it offers. Now, AfCFTA is broad. Is a huge document. It is just only the phase one that have started. That is the start of trading. There are other annexes that is attached to it that, okay, so in the area of capacity building, you can actually start training businesses, organizations regarding key areas. There are key priority areas. Like for instance, the area of intra-Africa trade is a key priority areas. You can actually start capacity building in this area. And more than that, another very interesting area which I like so much, though I've not been able to explore it myself, is the area of gender baseline performance reporting. Now, if you look at the AfCFTA governance structure, if you look at the governance structure, okay, from the AU itself, then the you have the Assembly of Ministers and all of that, down to the National Implementation Committee. So every country has a National Implementation Committee. In Nigeria, it is called National Action on AfCFTA. Right. Now, you gender baseline performance reporting. Now, this goes to those monitoring and evaluation. Now, you're trying to innovations and that should affect that should affect boys, girls, men, women, and all that. But you find that program and policy does not affect both gender the same way. AfCFTA does not affect men and women the same way, especially when it talks about intra-African trade, right? So you will want to take up a career in the area of, okay, monitoring how the policies and program of your national implementation committee is affecting the women, the women, right, whether they are gender blind or they are gender sensitive. That's a huge area that young people can actually, okay, a lot of opportunities that await along young people. I think my time is up now, so let me stop there. Over to the moderator.
Okay, that was I was hoping that you'd probably continue. I was taking down a lot of notes and I was learning a lot from you. Hello, sir. Have you already gone off?
Hello, yes, I'm with you.
Okay, so I think maybe you can enlighten us more. Maybe when we open up for a question and answer session, right, Miss Heber?
Yes,
All
exactly,
right,
because
all
we
right.
have our beautiful lady here. So she's waiting. Thank you, Mr. Evans, for this enlightenment information and how we as young people can collaborate in implementing the AFC FTA. So now we are moving to the beautiful lady, Mrs. Viola Nakimbo Goe from Uganda. She is a certified AfCFTA Gender and Development professional and an alumni of the African Institute for Economic Development and Planning (IDEP), a subsidiary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa (UNECA). She is also the founder and the CEO of Asprot, Up Youth and Women Initiative, which is a non-profit organization in Uganda, which has been in existence for 2 years till now, which empowers children, youth, and women in economically disadvantaged community and entrepreneurship with the goal of ending poverty and developing those remote areas in the long run. So my question for you, Miss Viola, as a young female entrepreneur, how do you see the contribution of women in implementing the African Continental Free Trade Area, which anyone can see, it's kind of challenging? I hope that you can answer my question. The floor is yours.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you. And I hope this will be more of interactive. I don't want to speak so much, but I'll just give a brief of what I have, and then we can have an interactive session. For starts to talk about women and their participation in the implementation of AfCFTA across Africa, which we all agree that women have been sidelined in trade. Okay, I may not talk about many other countries, but in Uganda, East Africa, and a few African countries I know of, the participation of women in trade is actually so low, not because they are not doing the work, but because the work is not actually recognized. So, and women face a lot of challenges, so they've been constrained a lot to achieve actually what they would have wanted to achieve, which would actually lead to economic growth if given attention. And to know, before we go into details of how women can participate in the implementation, I wanted us to, I'm going to go through the current reality of like women based on statistics, and also a few of the challenges. and then the way forward. And from the way forward, that's where we shall see the different steps maybe which governments can put in place so that they can involve women in the plans. Yeah, so according to the recent study by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization in 2017, 70% of the informal traders in Southern Africa Development Community regions are women. So realize that here, as we shall see later on, that women play a very big role. 70% of the informal traders are women in the Southern African Development Community region. Then in West Africa, in West Africa and Central Africa, informal cross-border traders among women represents more than 60% and generates about 40 to 60% of the GDP of the countries concerned. So realize that from these few reports that women play a very, very, very big role, and their role and their work has actually been sidelined. Their work has not been recognized by the different governments or the different people concerned. Then in Uganda, because I come from Uganda, so I can't fail to use Uganda as an example. In Uganda, according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics report in 2018, women were more engaged in trade at 55% and in manufacturing 51%. And in an article published by New Vision, it says in New Vision, it's a paper in Uganda, a newspaper in Uganda, it says 80% of the Ugandan informal cross-border trade is done by women and constitutes the main source of income. Well, I'm not just reading this by mistake, but I want us to appreciate the role of the women in trade, that they play a very, very, very big role. And they've faced a few challenges. Some include lack of funding or access to finance and literacy levels. Then a few of other challenges include family, as we shall see later on, family issues, and also culture, because we're talking about Africa. And some of the factors are also tied around the culture. And different African countries have different cultures, and their cultures, regardless of how educated a woman is, there is a way they will take a woman in that very light, and they cannot rise above that which they know. It's like they know a woman is supposed to be in a certain kind of state, and they cannot rise above that. And that's how most communities have taken them, even at their workplaces, even in trade, and in all these other aspects. And so we'll see some of the groups of women we're talking about here. We have informal cross-border traders. We have women that participate in the production of traded goods, and we have women entrepreneurs. And realize that most women in businesses, we have most women in informal businesses, and they form the greatest percentage, I believe, in Africa, because I believe in Africa, using Uganda as an example, and also East Africa, we have the greatest percentage involved in informal business as being women compared to men. We'll look at some of the steps the policymakers in Africa can take to facilitate the participation of women in trade. We have recognition by the government. Government should recognize the role that women play. And once they recognize the role that women play, then they'll be able to put in place policies that support their work, that support things that boost their trade and businesses. Recently, in Uganda, it's the private sector has just come up. For instance, banks, access to finance by women has been always limited. And because they know they don't have security, because you cannot go get a loan to start your business or to boost your business, because you're always asked for security, and most of which do not have such things. And the only thing they care about is the care of their families. And access to finance, and without these finances, they cannot do anything meaningful in terms of trade. They'll always be at that kind of lower level, and they cannot compete favorably, even if they would have wanted to. So if the governments recognize the role of women, as we have seen that they actually contribute as we have seen that they actually contribute the greatest percentage of, they actually contribute a greatest percentage in trade. So government should recognize the role of the women, and in so doing, they'll set up programs, set up projects to boost these women, and programs like, or projects like funding. They can always fund women in such instances. And then openness and transparency. That's the second point. What some of the policymakers can take to facilitate the participation of women in trade: openness and transparency. In openness and transparency, it involves rules and regulations governing trade. And these rules and regulations governing trade should be made clear. In Uganda, because I can't use examples of countries I don't know of, but this relates to the whole of Africa. But it is very, very hard. Personally, I'm a businesswoman as well. But the truth is, if you do not, I believe I represent actually most of those women out there also who would have wanted to participate in trade, but they don't know actually what to do. It's very hard to find information pertaining a particular kind of trade. Or let's say you want to import, yes, or to export, the different procedures. Yes, there may be a few people who may have access to that information, but the greatest majority do not have access to that information because they actually do not know what it takes. Yet, here we are, and we have a great opportunity of the AfCFTA. It's there, but then because they're ignorant, if in the past they could not even have access to these kinds of information, you could even actually ask one lady or one woman who is involved in trade. They'll just tell you that they are using other people. It's like other people tell them that kind of information. That information is not readily available. That means there is no transparency, and there is no transparency and openness. So this kind of information should be made readily available. And we are going to find so many challenges in implementing this because we're looking at the role of women. And there are so many challenges which will be involved, and this would actually hinder the success of this first phase of AfCFTA if we don't take things seriously. If governments do not take things, if they continue doing their things like how they have been doing them, then that means we'll still have a really, 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 really long road, and calls upon each and every one to take their place. And each and everyone means me and you to do the needful, to see and not wait for others for the government to see that this kind of information reaches those people. And I'm actually glad that we have this webinar, and which I'm honored to be a speaker, that many people are getting to know more about AfCFTA. And I didn't talk about it in details because the previous speakers talked about it. So I didn't want to repeat what they've actually talked about, because at least they gave a clear, they gave a brief background of AfCFTA. And the other step would be inclusive participation of key stakeholders in the AfCFTA registration process in that particular country. For instance, they don't have to get the normal people they know of, but at least the different groups of women involved to be also represented. If it's the youth, because I don't want to go in the area of the youth because everyone's talked about the youth. The youth, you have their representatives. We have these people at the grassroots. In Uganda, we have over 80% of the women. We have farmers, and most of those farmers are women. they're involved in the production of goods. Yeah, and that is, some of them are involved in agriculture, others in other things, not just crops, but even animals and all these other things. But these people only think about their families, and everything revolves around family, So how will they even know what to do so they can be able to take advantage of the opportunities created by AfCFTA? Because there is no way they can contribute towards the implementation of that when they're ignorant about what actually is going on. And it's like life is just normal for them, year in, year out. Then we have advocacy and awareness raising on gender and AfCFTA issues. And awareness raising, I think, is what this webinar is also about, partly. Yeah, for people to get to know about AfCFTA. And personally, I also didn't know about AfCFTA and I didn't know what it was, but I appreciated it more and more when I studied that course, and it opened up my eyes, and I was like, wow, that means more people should get this so they can be able to take advantage of it. Otherwise, they'll always remain in the back. And as a leader of an organization which empowers women in those areas, I think it's a very, very good opportunity for us. And it was a very good opportunity for me as well to get a clear understanding, of this entire process, so that I can be able to go and help those women at a grassroots level, the women who always interact with, who may never even have any idea about AfCFTA, and even those ones who may have an idea, but don't know where to start from. Because having an idea is different from you really having a desire to, because others need a push, an actual push, to be able to embrace this. Then strengthening women trade associations. We are still on some of the steps policymakers in Africa can take to facilitate the participation of women in trade. We strengthen women trade associations and networks. Now, for strengthening women trade associations, in Uganda still, some of those women in those rural areas have associations. Let's say they are wheat growers. So there will be wheat growers. Let's say Kampala wheat growers. Okay, it's not Kampala, but I'm just giving an example. Wheat growers association. This association brings together all wheat growers in Kampala, and some of which can be helping them get market for their products, how they can better take advantage of every opportunity, because it's easier to win when you are together than when you are alone, because you can actually get more opportunities when you are together. I may not know X, but my colleague in that association may know X, and so when we bring ideas, we can go far other than when you're working alone. So the associations need strengthening. They need boosting. If they are boosted, that means their impact is felt and people's lives are changed. And with these associations, if they are well strengthened, they can be able to pass on this very kind of information to their networks of AfCFTA and how they can take advantage, because it's very, very hard for me, let's say as Viola, to reach to all those women we reach out to in Suya, in our organization. But if there is an association, if there is a network, let's say, of those wheat growers, we can get in touch with their leaders, because you cannot impact the whole of Uganda at the same time. But their leaders can pass on this very information to those to members in that association, and even others can spread the news and how they can do it, because knowing it is also one thing, but then how are you going to do it? The export procedures, the import procedures, they're also, because with the opportunities created by AfCFTA, there also comes challenges. And some of the challenges include cheaper products from imports. Yes, we're going to take advantage of it. Markets are open and everything, but with that market comes competition from the cheaper products, and which would actually be better products from other countries. So they compete with locally made products. So it's a way to step up So in associations, it may be easier for you to devise means of how you can make it better, and so that you can be able to compete favorably with the imports, and not see this as a competition, but also see it as an opportunity of growth in your network, how to make things better. So that's like a platform to learn. And support capacity, another step. Okay, let me just wind up. Support capacity building and initiatives for SMEs on international and regional trade requirements, then promote the use of information and communication technology. Realize that most of women in the informal sector are illiterate, others may be literate, but then in terms of technology, they're illiterate, and yet in this era of AfCFTA, most of the work most of the engagements will be, but are computerized, and everything we find it online. So someone who doesn't know how to use that, it will be very hard for them to take advantage of that. So just promoting the use of information and communication technology will be very key and ideal to the success of the AfCFTA. Yeah, we shall continue talking more as we interact. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Viola, and you will be having more space when we start the Q&A session. Sorry, so Leary, you can take it from here.
Thank you very much. I like how she's very, very soft-spoken, slow, but precise in what she's talking about. That was a very good presentation. Thank you very much, Ms. Viola. I hope everybody was able to get that. And so without wasting much time, I would like to open the floor for question and answer. Please, guys, remember to mute your mics when it's not your turn to speak. Even when you have asked your question, remember to turn off your mic so that you allow the person that you ask the question to answer you without much disturbance to everybody else. And can I see a raise of hands for those that are willing to ask a question, or you can type it in the chat box so that we can pick it from there. While that's on, I would like to ask the first one to ask a question, if you may allow me, to Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans, are you available?
Hey.
All right, sir. A few career options that you talked about. Can you please just mention them again? That's the first question. The second question would be, is there an institution or a university that is taking it upon itself to teach or to train in these new career paths?
All right, thank you very much, and good enough. I've already shared some of the points that I highlighted on the chat box. Let me just go through over them again. We have integrated Africa under AfCFTA, 7 areas of opportunities and prospects for the African youths. Right. So number one, we have opportunity to tap into the free movement of persons, goods, and services across Africa. Okay, that's tourism. You want to come and visit Nigeria, walk into Nigerian embassy, right? And there's free movement, right? Then number two, we talked about an opportunity to own an African-wide e-commerce platform as a vendor merchant, meaning you can sell to the whole of Africa. You can receive payment, right? You can even trade in your local currency. I just finished a training now with the International Trade Center and this African Bank, right? Now, they are going to work it out where it will be possible where you can trade in your local currency. They do the conversion for you, so you don't have to stress about converting to whichever currency where your client is and all of that. Then number three, opportunity to make a career through vocational trainings in key priority areas of the AfCFTA. And I've just completed 2, okay, 3 now. I'm currently on another 1 now. So there are key priorities areas where you can actually be a consultant, a specialist, an expert. Right. There, number 1 is, okay, I think I have them here. To become a consultant in export-import procedure in your country, right? Okay, you can speak with Heba, okay, is our leader for Egypt. You can speak to her, give her some time. She'll be able to interface with the National Implementation Committee and request for that document. When she gets to that document, now, exporting, trading under AfCFTA, okay, there's a rule of origin. There are a couple of things that you have to get right. So you're going to see the custom, you're going to see the trade office, you're going to see and a whole lot of that. There are procedures, right? It's a little bit crazy, you know, government bureaucracy, but though part of the goal of AfCFTA is to make it simple. So you need that document. It's called export-import procedure for Egypt, for instance, if you're from Egypt, and you can start from there and build a career and become a consultant to thousands and thousands of organizations, businesses, and SMEs. That's exactly what I'm trying to do now over here in Nigeria. Also, number 5, an opportunity to become an intra-African trade consultant. I've just completed this. It's a whole lot. Okay, you need to guide a business organization, SMEs. Okay, number 1, the SME need to understand goods, okay, that the country has negotiated and agree to trade on AfCFTA. It's not every goods or commodity in your country that your country may have negotiated to be traded. So you need to get the list, the schedule of goods and commodities that your country have negotiated to be traded on the AfCFTA platform. So it is now from that note, you cannot begin your consultancy in intra-African trade. You have to do your research. Where is the target market? Is it Nigeria? Is it Egypt? Is it Uganda? Is it South Africa? And all of that. Okay, there's a whole lot regarding becoming a consultant in this intra-African trade is one of the key priority areas. The opportunities to be engaged in the area of advocacy outreach activities. Ever since we started making some noise on Facebook, do you know how many organizations have reached out to us? Right, a lot of organizations, because we started doing advocacy, just talking about AfCFTA. I'm planning on creating a blog now where I can really start writing a whole lot. This is how you promote. Everybody's a marketer, get that. At every point you're promoting an idea, you're promoting something. So you have that opportunity, advocacy, actually at the grassroots level. Listen, listen, the government of the country has already signed the agreement and has already ratified the agreement. So they've created the opportunity for the private sector. What is government selling there? What's government selling? What is government products and commodity? What is government selling? It is for you and I. They've created a system for us, for you and I to become a key player. You must understand that. So advocacy between the government and the National Implementations Committee in the headquarters, Cairo, Abuja, and all of that. You have an average African business organization. You can do this on WhatsApp. There's a platform on Facebook. They're going close to 500,000 on Facebook. They just got me as one of their trainers. That's what they're saying. You can do this. You don't need it. You can start on WhatsApp, Telegram, LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere you can get started. Start making some noise before you know people start reaching out to you. Hey, I have this problem. Can you do this? Okay, you say okay for $1,000 for $3. Can I send you my card? That is how it will start. And that one, go and tell another person. Then another area is capacity building. There's a lot of training, man, you can do. Just like what we're doing now. This is just what we're doing now. You can do this for business organizations, SMEs across the whole of Africa, man. And access to funding opportunity from Afrexim Bank, even African development banks. right? These are Pan-African banks, and AfCFTA is a Pan-African deal. Look, they need SMEs to fund and to assist, right? So these are some of the opportunities. Now, you talk about institutions where, okay. Now, AU created the AfCFTA, they set up the bill and all of that. The negotiation is still ongoing because it's broad. Okay, it's broad. There is a dispute settlement, that one will come up. Rule of origin, that one will come up. There's a lot of annexes that are still developing, but trading has started. Now, we are taking a clue from the World Trade Organization. So some of the organizations now that are training on AfCFTA is the World Trade, International Trade Center. International Trade Center is owned by World Trade Organization and United Nations. That is one organization that is running training. That's where I've had trainings with them. Then you also have the Afrizim Bank. Afrizim Bank is a Pan-African bank. They too have an academic, they're running training as well. Good enough. Afrizim Bank is from Cairo, Egypt. It's from Cairo, Egypt. Good. Then another institute where we got trained is the African Institute for Economic Development and Planning, IDEP. That institute is in Senegal. Look, we went on AU scholarship. I have no idea how much it costs. It's just AU scholarship, right? Then another agency that is also providing training is the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. They are in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, just very close to the AU headquarters, international. So these are some of these big multinational. Remember, Europe had this. Europe had these trade agreements and some other blocks around the world, but Africa is, okay, this is the biggest so far, but right now we have 36 countries that have ratified, right? So we are still kind of taking training materials, knowledge from World Trade Organization and United Nations, a kind of. Then in Africa, then the AfCFTA Secretariat itself, but I'm sure that one has not fully started. The training from AfCFTA Secretariat itself has not fully started. And besides, I do not know how access regarding that training. I don't know whether it's government officials from the ministries of trade. I don't know, people that are going to be getting that training, right? But what we can do, we can see how we can assist some of this opportunity through Gold, okay, through the organization, through Gold, you can have access to some of these training opportunities. That is what I can do. So if I have any opportunity, I can share, I can forward, then Heber can then, as many that are interested, may be able to pass it on. Thank you. Over to you, moderator.
One more question, just a small one. Are you a preacher by any chance? Are you a pastor?
Thank you very much. You just nailed it, but I don't want to talk about that now. This is a pastor platform. Right.
I love your passion in teaching, man. That's beautiful.
I had to leave.
So
I had to leave a program to this. Right. We'll talk about that one off here. Okay. Thank you for that.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
you for that.
All right. Anyone else with a question, please raise your hand so that we may be able to pick you from the audience. Any questions, guys? Come on. Was the explanations that good that no one had a question or everything was answered or what? All right. Mr. Malek, you have a question, right? Mr. Malek. Okay, I think Mr. Malek has a question, but he's having challenge with his audio, I think. Anyone else with a question?
Yes. Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Who is this? We can hear you.
This is Malik from South Sudan, and
Go ahead, sir.
yeah, greetings everyone who turned up for this important discussions. Um, I'm privileged to join this discussion for this evening, and my question is directly to Evans. Um, what mechanism can be used to ensure the African countries implement the non-tariff policy concerning AfCFTA?
Thank you very much. Sorry, can you come again? There was a break, a kind of, you said what mechanism can be used to do what?
My question is, what mechanism can be used to ensure the African country implement the non-tariff policy?
All right, if I may get you correctly, what mechanism can be used to ensure that African country implement the AfCFTA?
The non-tariff policy, non-tariff policy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's a very good one. Thank you very much. Number one, we must understand that the non-tariff policy, the government are not really smiling about that because it's going to reduce their income, their national income. Right. It's going to reduce their, the port authorities, they charge. In fact, at a point in Nigeria, the cost of importing was more than the cost of the good itself. The charges you are going to pay. Now, AfCFTA is saying you must bring down those tariff. Is a gradual process. Is a gradual process, okay, to bring it down to zero. What mechanism? Now, the AfCFTA is going to set up a monitoring system. That's why they're going to develop a schedule, an annex, okay, that will give us a kind of milestone. So, for instance, if we are saying that, hey, by June, by middle of this year, let there be 50% off of tariff, right? Especially the AfCFTA goods, like goods that each country have negotiated to be traded. That is part of what they submitted when they submitted their instrument of ratification. So they've also submitted a list of goods. There are schedules of goods. So the Secretariat now is going to be telling them, okay, now this is what you have agreed to trade. Another country, this is what you have agreed to trade. So whatever that is coming into this country and whatever that is going out of this country, by June, there should be 50% off regarding your tariff. And they are going to sanction members that defaulted. That is what it means to sign an agreement. AfCFTA is a rule-based agreement. It's a legal document. Right. It's a trade rule-based agreement system that should govern our relationship. We want to open up our borders to free movement of goods, persons, and services. So there is a law that is backing that. And over 54 countries have agreed to that, except Eritrea. Or thereabout, yeah, except Eritrea. Now, 36 countries have ratified. They have submitted the schedule, goods, and everything. So AfCFTA, there's a portal for monitoring. They're going to be monitoring like all these non-tariff barriers, right? Issues you are having, especially for women, you can report. You can report. So you can have a consultant that's helping you to report. Once you have an issue, you are trying to move from Nigeria to Benin Republic, you have an issue, then you report, and the person will flag it off on the AfCFTA portal, and the Secretariat will pick it up and with the authorities of the country. So that is the responsibility of the Secretariat. The Secretariat is in Ghana. So Ghana has given us a place. It's in Ghana. So the DG and the team are going to be ensuring, based on what we have agreed milestones regarding the reduction, gradual elimination of tariffs on goods and services within the AfCFTA corridor. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, thank you
Okay.
so much, Evans. I'm satisfied with your answer.
All right. That was good. Thank you very much for that answer. I think the next person will be Mr. Taljad. Is that correct?
Yes, it's
Mr.
correct.
Taljad?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, great. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Yes, let me thank everybody for this opportunity. Yes, I'm speaking right from Namibia. Yeah, I just wanted to ask just a bit of clarity. Yeah, I do understand the whole concept on the ground, but as you said, also there are those few technicalities and legal, concepts and procedures that we won't really understand just by saying. So I want to understand that although there are schedules submitted of goods that are negotiated to be traded on, I want to know, how do we deal with the issue of the customs union? Because like in Namibia, we are part of SADC. Now I want to know, should there be a common tariff for commodities through SADC? It's because we haven't dealt with the regional blocks yet. I know that we are on the way of creating a single customs union, which is fine. But as we speak now, Namibia is still part of SADC. So does it mean that we first have to conform to one, a block tariff before then we can trade with the other parts of the African continent? That's my question here.
All right. Who is your question directed towards?
To anyone, but I think that even to you, even to you as well.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's great. Thank you very much. So, engineer and Ms. Viola, can you take up the question? Hello, Engineer John.
I think Engineer John is no longer here. Maybe.
All right. Ms. Viola,
Yeah.
is she still with us?
I guess yes.
Ms. Viola. All right. If they are both not available, Mr. Evans, can you take up this one again?
Thank you so much. That's a very important question. Yes, before AfCFTA, there have been several frameworks. There have been series of frameworks. The goal has always been towards African integration, towards integration of Africa. Remember the Organization of African Union that started. Then in 2002, we had the AU. Dependent bodies, Organization of Africa, or AU, you remember your secondary schools. Then thereafter, the issue of regional economic blocks in West Africa, we have ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, East Africa, South Africa, North Africa, we have all this. But now it's a gradual collapse. They are going to gradually collapse. AfCFTA supersedes. AfCFTA supersedes. Right. We're moving towards integration of Africa. Right. Now, they're not going to collapse one day. We can't just wake up and say collapse that structures, because there were agreement as well, okay, that brought that structure together. Don't also forget, even in African trade, before now, over 84% of African goods, commodities were leaving Africa. We are leaving Africa. The highest we have ever traded is 16%. And that was there were just about 5 countries that were dominating. So also African countries now are also beginning to discontinue with the appetite for the Western world. Remember, colonial masters. So they've been tied to colonial masters. The agreement that we entered into by national trade, bilateral trade. Nigeria had with UK, had with US, had with everybody. Right? Imagine, Nigeria does not even sell. How many countries does Nigeria sell oil to in Africa? Whereas part of our biggest buyer is the Asia country, US, and all of that. Now that is going to stop. Gradually, it will take a time. It's not going to collapse overnight. It's not going to collapse. Right. So it will take a time to collapse these regional economic blocks into the AfCFTA, which will now supersede. Okay, then we'll now have African-wide tariff. And then gradually, so these are some of the challenges. These are some of the challenges why they are in phases. Implementation is in phases. The more reason why the Secretariat cannot just wake up now and said, okay, tariff should not be 50%, bring it to zero. No way. There are legal frameworks which each country have entered before now, and they are gradually beginning to undo it and see how they can collapse it into AfCFTA so that we have a one common single market for all African countries.
Okay. Are you answered, Mr. Taljad?
Yes, I think he have answered, just that it will collapse gradually. It is not something that we have to rush into now. Yeah, so I do understand on that one. Let me just leave it there. And then maybe the second question that I want to ask him is that can he just clarify to me, what do they mean when they say about the 90%, 7%, and 3% trade negotiation? I don't know whether I'm correct, if I'm speaking under correction, but when I approach my leaders also now, we had something like that, first of all, they are negotiating on a certain 90%, and after that, they have to go to the 7% and then the 3%. But I did not just quite get what they were saying, but if he has knowledge on that, can he just share it with me, or also with the others on the platform, just for us to be on the same page?
All right. If I may get your question correctly, you're talking about 90%, 7%, 3% trade negotiation?
Yeah, yes.
Is it by each country? Is it those that have already ratified and deposited their instrument of ratification?
Yes, yes.
What I do know is that there are those that have not ratified. So those ones are still consulting, right? They are still consulting among themselves, stakeholders. Hey, if we open up this border, how is it going to affect our revenue? Now they are telling us to reduce our tariff. Will our country become a dumping ground? What's going to happen? How do we protect infant industries and all of that? So there's a negotiation. Eventually, when each country have come to a point that good, we are good to go, I think we can now understand the risk and the prospect, the opportunity, the opportunities are more than the risk, then they can now ratify the agreement and deposited the instrument of ratification, including the list of items, the schedule of goods that they have agreed to be traded on the corridor. So other than that, I don't understand another percentage again that they're negotiating. Maybe I don't know, maybe I need more clarification.
Yeah.
Well, you answered, Mr. Taljad.
Yeah, no, I think I do get him now. I do get when he alluded to the point that there are those who did not negotiate, because then we go back to my first question of the regional economic blocks, because I know, for instance, in SADC there are countries, for instance, who there are countries, for instance, who are part of SADC, but they are not in the Southern the Southern African Customs Union. You understand? They are part of SADC, yeah. Like Kenya, for instance, it is part of SADC, but it is not in our customs union. So these are maybe the exception that first we have to consult here as a regional bloc, and then have those 97% and 3% agreements, and then before we submit the schedules. So I do get him there. Yeah.
All right, that's wonderful. And Ms. Viola was saying she had network challenges when we were trying to raise her up, but her answer to the participant is the AfCFTA will not impose on already existing RECs. I'm guessing those are regional bloc agreements such as ECOWAS, EAC, SADC. It will seek to foster greater integration between those regional blocs and the residual countries. I'm guessing those are those countries that are not part of any bloc at all. So I think it aligns with what Mr. Evans was saying, that they will try to integrate through negotiation, slowly make sure that everything becomes one. And with that said, I do not see any other question or other hand. So for tonight, I think we'll close the question and answer segment. I hope everybody has benefited, everybody learned something from the presentation and from the question and answer segment. I'll leave this part now to Mrs. Haber for conclusion. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining.
Thank you, Larry, and thank you, Evans, and Ms. Viola, and all our interactive participants. And also a big thank for Engineer John. He has to leave because he has a family commitment. So it was our pleasure to have you all today, and I hope that you learned something about the AfCFTA agreement. And please make sure to fill the form in order for you to get your certificates. You will get certificates within 2 days. And please make sure to join the WhatsApp group in order for us to send you your certificates there. And also, we have another opportunity to announce about. If you want to join our goal family, our Guardians of Afro Arab Leadership family, you can just refer to our page and register on the volunteering link. You can volunteer with us. We have a lot of committees to work with. We have the communication committee, we have the translation committee, we have the production committee, and we have the social media committee. So and also a media committee. So you can make sure that go through the link, see whatever you want to share with us. I think it will be fun to have more of you with us to be one of our big family. So thank you, Larry, and thank you all. And so
Sorry,
sorry
Miss
for
Haber.
the inconvenience of the internet issues and the electric issues. And
Miss Haber.
powerful program. So don't miss it. Bye bye.
Miss Haber. Sorry. Hello.
Yes, Larry?
Someone was
Yes.
asking about WhatsApp number at the bottom. I think maybe they can get help from there for that, so that they can be part of the groups. I don't know.
Okay, okay. Please, I will send you the WhatsApp group link now on the chat box in order for you to um, join it and to receive your certificate. Okay,
Uh,
I guess here it is. So please refer to it and make sure that you are going to receive your certificate within 2 days, inshallah. So thank you all and good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.